I'm just trying to pull. So I know that you're a sign off.
Right,
So,
we're a sign on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because if there's any demolition, then that would apply to us, I suppose,
So
so.
No,
you need a
we-
motion then?
We
Margaret?
need to approve what he's proposing.
You need a motion?
Mhm.
I move that we approve the plan as we've just seen it, so.
So you have a second? Yeah, Sarah? Okay. All those in favor?
thank you.
Thank you.
See you around the neighborhood.
Right, and so you aren't submitting a project notification form to Mass
No,
Historic?
no.
No, because you're
They're
not
not gonna go.
contributing. Yeah.
So
I mean,
you
I-
thought about pickleball for that?
Don't get me started.
Oh, come on. That would be so popular.
You're not using.
Listen, they want to make 6 more courts at Abercrombie Field. Okay, pickleball is taking the nation by storm. We don't need, you cannot stand in the way of pickleball.
Yeah,
It's a
you can't
phenomenon.
stand in the way.
It's not, it's a phenomenon and we're gonna get caught.
That's right.
What's
Till the
next
next
one?
one.
Anyway, thank you, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah,
to bother
okay,
you for-
no problem.
It's like
Thank you
a
very
big
much.
evening.
Bye now.
See ya.
Laser tag.
It's like ping pong tennis had a baby.
Laser tag.
It is very popular.
Laser tag.
And you know who's a nut?
Yeah.
I don't play either.
No, I
You
play.
do, is
She
it?
loves it.
3-4 times a week.
It's very popular.
Yeah.
It really is, you're right, it is
Yeah.
taking.
Yeah.
My day is made. and-
People love it.
So,
or
so
lost, depending on how.
before we go on to the next topic,
Yeah.
can I just make a comment? One of the things that happens when you've got communicated with you is that you tend to get emails that have a subject line that doesn't relate to the subject, which is just what you just ran into trying to find.
Yeah.
And so what you need to remind yourself is if you're doing a reply all, change the subject line to reflect what you put in there, not what's in the original, or send a new email to everybody. Because otherwise what happens is you end up with a subject that's here on this first original email.
Yeah,
And you end up with 5 emails, each one is slightly different.
It's
And then
actually
middle
hard
in the
to
middle of that.
Might have known.
it's very hard to change. the subject.
So maybe different.
Well, no, it's not. It's not
If you send a new email.
A new email, right,
Just
but
reply
if you
all.
want to reply all, because
No, you
those are the people that had.
no,
the
you can
chance.
change the subject line when
Change
you
the
reply
subject line and
on.
reply all.
Yeah.
Well, what, keep it in mind is the problem, because
Okay.
you just demonstrated
Yeah.
the problem with it. And I run into it all the time because I'm on email chains all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly trying to find the one that's got the meeting link in it.
Yeah.
It's hidden in the middle of 6 others, you know, so just saying.
Okay.
Group teams. And it's
But I go there, I don't.
like just have teams as a chat for exchange of communication, like on like non-official communication, but like, hey, are we meeting on this day? Oh, here's that attachment. Well, like a,
I
you know.
think email covers.
Can't do it.
You say not official.
Well, I mean, like, because our emails are
Jack,
serve the
real
same
quick.
purpose.
Yes,
But if
Terry.
the teams is
Getting
like
back to the
one-
project that he was just talking about.
Yeah.
I was reading an article the other day, I'm glad you brought up about the securing the windows.
Yes.
And apparently, I think it was for the planning commission, there's someone who has an issue with dispensaries because of that, because they
Yes.
feel it's a blight on Main Street because they have to secure the windows.
Yeah.
I personally disagree with it, but I just wanted to get that out there, that this is an argument being made,
I know, right.
Right,
Yeah, I
that
agree
it's
with
some kind of an issue.
right. That's fortunately not in our peer review. Thank heavens.
that. Well, we can actually comment about that. Yeah,
Do we want to?
no.
No,
not
I don't
today.
think so.
Yeah, with that,
We've had enough problems.
it's
without
not any
getting into
worse than
that.
that whitewashed. Yeah, whitewashed brick on the second floor.
All right, well,
Okay, new business.
Aaron's busy. Let's do John. Peter Miller
Okay,
Award.
yes, Peter Miller Award, thank you. We all, let's officially vote. We have a motion.
Well, so I think that, in light of John's recent departure from the Historic Commission, I think he's done a lot of service to the town over the years as in preserving the history of Greenfield. So I would nominate John Pasiglia for the Peter Miller Award.
Second.
Second. Good, good. Let's call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No, but I will say it was very interesting. Prior to the meeting, we got a small tour and even though John isn't the chair of the commission anymore, one of the impacts is actually right there in that room where the
It
museum's
is.
gonna be, the old weather vane. John Pasiglia actually redid the weather vane for them, so when the museum is done, he gets to kind of echo through in that sense.
That's right.
It's right over here.
Yeah, when,
What
if we,
museum?
this whole room right here is gonna be their museum.
It's very cool. There's an old hand
If we can
pump.
get a part two of the tour.
That's the old pumper there.
Yeah,
Oh. I'll have to.
you guys are going to love it.
It's so cool, it's so cool.
Hello, Erin, how are
I
you?
apologize for
That's okay.
everything. It's been,
Yeah,
It's been,
it's
Right.
great. I made it.
so we'll bring you back up on the agenda.
Thank you.
So can you describe the mayor's proposed work on the historic stagecoach?
Yes, she wants you guys to find something to do with it.
Mm.
So, and obviously that's a gross oversimplification. We have this great stagecoach. It was built in New Hampshire. Now, you know some of the history of it.
Built in Concord, New Hampshire,
Um,
the Concord coach.
and it's beautiful. It's at the DPW. We can go visit it someday, take a little field trip. But it needs repaired. And I think her goal would be if you guys are able to find grants or find somebody who might be interested in repairing it and bringing it back to life for the city. That's kind of
Oh.
within.
I thought John had gone.
John,
Siglia.
I
Had done what?
I think he wanted to, it was kind of
No,
always on
he
his
didn't have
radar.
any distinct ideas, no.
No?
No, he just, that's one of the reasons,
Oh.
it was one of his arguments for having a city museum as opposed to several city museums.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so that was one of his arguments that for turning it in, but he never had any, never that he told me about a distinct idea for the coach itself.
But I think it could be
Don't you
really-
guys have a grant writer, or wasn't there a grant writer that did the grant on our project?
We do have
Yeah.
a grant writer, yes. That being said, we are currently facing some unique times regarding federal budgets.
Really?
It's a little rowdy in
Yeah.
DC right now, I'll say that,
Yeah.
trying to be
Yeah.
gregarious. And I know sometimes you, as this committee, have known people who are interested in things like wanting to restore, who would be interested in stuff like that. That is her thought. She was hoping you would have some ideas at least of where to start. Because I don't have the time to think about it right now, frankly.
Right.
I might have time later.
One place to start would be to try to get something through CPC to have someone who knows what they're talking about, look at it and give us an estimate of what it would cost to bring it to a
Okay.
condition.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a condition to run on the road,
That is
but a
something that we.
condition that would stop it from what's gonna happen one day is it's simply gonna collapse in a pile of dust.
Yeah, and we
Uh,
definitely don't want
It's gonna
that.
fall apart because every piece of wood in that thing is shrinking. It's all pulling apart. It's got a lot of leather in it. The leather, it's supported on leather slings that they use instead of springs. Those leather things deteriorate.
And
And if they break, then the coach drops down and breaks.
it's definitely not in a climate controlled environment. It's the
Yeah.
DPW.
So
It's
I could actually
unneeded, right?
bring that forward
think so.
as an application for fiscal year 2026.
would you?
I could, because the housing director is also on the CPC. I would just recuse myself from voting for that purpose.
Sure.
So we'd have to basically pull all the strings together and be like, this is what we want to do, this is how much it's gonna cost, this is how long it's gonna take, and then bring it to the CPC.
Yeah, but what the first step would just be there are people who specialize in that kind of refurbishing of vehicles like that. There are people who do that. As I said, the newspaper in Concord had that done. Now, this has been some years ago, but they did have somebody come and take a Concord coach and put it into good condition so that it could be used as a display thing. So they might still have that name. I could contact them and find out.
That would be.
But the thing would be to find at least one person who does that sort of, and then get a find out how much it would cost to have them look at it, and then get the grant through the CPC to pay for that appraisal. And then, once you have the appraisal, then you could see what you're talking about.
And I don't have the bandwidth to do any of that.
Understand that from
you.
what you said,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I interject a question here?
Yeah.
If this gets all restored, does it have somewhere to go?
That's the
Or
second
is
part.
that
That's the
part
second
of
part.
the
That's the
grant
second
we need
part
to
of the
look at
question.
too?
That's the second
Because
part.
there's no point in restoring it if it's just gonna,
Well, there is, because if you don't, it's gonna fall into.
well, yeah, but we still
We don't
need
want
somewhere
it,
to
we don't
go.
want it, well, yeah, but I mean, yes, you're absolutely right.
We can find a
And
home
that-
for
that
it,
needs to be part of the
probably,
grant,
maybe,
right?
if we're lucky. But we would have to, I mean, there is a lot to consider, but I think step one is to see what you were saying, like, how much is it gonna
I mean,
cost? What's it gonna
If we
take?
got a thing back saying it's gonna cost you $100,000 to get the thing into shape so that it won't fall apart, then that's one thing. If you say it's gonna cost $30,000 to do it, then that's another thing. So, you know, you have to kind of find out what ballpark you're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because I have no clue. I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you're-
Can the CPC fund studies, like?
Yes.
you're
Yes.
talking about, It's not,
Yes.
it's not actual work.
Now, the
that's funding, it's
CPC
just a
Yes,
study.
Funding is done, like, that would have to be for FY 26 or
26, yeah.
27?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, the next round.
yeah.
It would be better to just find somebody who would say, oh yeah, I'll come look at it and tell you what it'll cost, and then go for that.
Yeah.
It seems to me that if we can, it's going to do that.
I can,
If they'll do it for nothing, if you can find somebody who'll do it for nothing, sure.
well, that's risky. Some
On
people do it.
the promise that if
Right.
the job is done, they get the job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that we can't do though because of
It has to be this.
of municipal procurement and.
Right. Sure.
But I would guess that anyone who's like into that sort of work would probably do it just for like, would probably look at it just for the love of the craft.
And there might
Yeah.
be, I mean, Concord's not that far away. There might be people there who are interested in that particular history and.
So
Yeah.
I can make inquiries at the newspaper. I don't know anybody that works there anymore, but I could call up and find out who it was that they gave that job to and see if they're still in business. in that-
Probably also a pretty small community
Oh, yeah,
of
Yeah.
people who do that. It's like, oh, you're in Massachusetts, call Steve.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, I'll do that.
Okay, great.
I wish there was, I just know that she wanted it,
It's a good idea.
she wanted it
Yeah.
preserved and. You guys are the people who can help because we can't right now.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, could we propose? Maybe some, not unofficial, but like, let's enter into agreement. Maybe we think about a town museum in 2030 or this, you know, just. But
Yeah,
it's gonna need a
sure.
home. We should
Yeah.
elevate the project
Yeah.
It's the DPW.
after.
wouldn't it be great if we could have a DPW new yard / museum with some of the old antique stuff that they're still using?
That would be very cool.
Yeah.
There's a number of things that are sort of stashed around town. So you
Yeah.
said something before about a museum. What were you talking about?
Right here, this is gonna be a museum that was, it was built as part of the firehouse and
What
there's
museum?
the firehouse.
It's a room,
museum.
you
It's
mean?
just a room, but it's a small museum that's gonna be open. They
So
have a
it's gonna be
curator.
just fire stuff?
And I believe it was funded through donations, but I'm not sure, because I was not around
So
for,
who's doing that project?
don't know. But
Somebody in the fire department?
yeah, I mean, I'll message Chief Strahan and find
I
out.
just wondered.
Well, what's funny though is actually.
So we have someone waiting to hear about the next item.
Okay, go for it.
I believe Christy might still be on the
Oh.
phone call. Is she?
I don't know, I can go look.
I
Okay,
am.
great. Oh, hi, Christy.
Good.
Okay.
Talking about the old schoolhouse, right? Yeah.
Right. So you want to make a little presentation? You're up.
Sure, I can, I mean, I can talk and answer questions. I also wanted to just share that I did put a couple companies in your chat about the stage.
Oh, cool.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you.
Good. Wow. That you
Yeah.
know of? That,
Yeah, I mean, Google's a wonderful thing.
right. So you
Um,
are To demolish District Number 7 schoolhouse.
Yes, yes. So this project has been discussed really since the fall of 2023. This is our second round of a mayor working on this project, and finally we have come to the bid that was just returned, working with Eric on the demolition of this building. Our plan for this is to reestablish a North Severance Park, because there's really not a park up in the northern part of Greenfield. We want to work with the Greenfield Minor League to refurbish the ball fields, and the Rec Commission has goals to put in a playground area up there because there is no playground, and do a little site work as far as possibly some picnic tables and stuff. At the site visit that we had for the bid, it was interesting. There was some gentlemen who actually in the 1980s played ball at that field, and shared with me, and I was unaware, but there was snow on the ground, not as much as we have now, that in the outfield, there's actually like a water fountain and there was picnic tables. However, the trees have all encroached on the outfield, and I'm sure that this spring, if I walk out there, hopefully I can find where that fountain was and that kind of stuff, which would be interesting if it still could be, turned back on. And yeah, so there is a small G-set, maybe, I'm not sure what they call it, a hub maybe, that
Hut.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a little hub for a G-set that's right next to that building as well, that obviously would be left in place. And the building has been vacant for longer than I've been here, and I've been here approaching 20 years. And there's a lot of lead paint, asbestos, and other hazardous materials in that building. And the building itself, with an inspection by our building commissioner, needed a lot of work if we were to try and bring it back for use, but it's not anything that we would use. And right now it's really hazardous to even bring youth to the ball field because there's parts of the building that are falling off. There's broken windows. Just this winter, actually, it was broken into. I'm not sure if somebody was trying to stay in there for shelter. So there was a lot of concerns about this building, and that's where we are today. I'm not sure what kind of questions you may have for me, but I'm happy to answer anything that I can.
You have funding for that project, the ball field and that stuff?
Nope, that's in our capital plan for future. Obviously, we need to demo it and get the site prepared for the playground, but we would be working with the minor league baseball for some of the infield, like turning over the infield and getting some of that stuff ready for spring use.
Yeah, I'm curious, I'm being new to Greenfield, but seeing similar situations in other places where I had lived and worked in preservation. Often when municipalities have buildings like this, they don't want, and thinking also of what happened with the church. And I know there's a lot of work that would be needed in this building, but anytime I see a building and I know that we need housing, I think this building, I mean, in Milwaukee, for example, I worked previously, like it's $1, someone take it away and it's yours and you can have it. This building, it sounds like it's moved a number of times already.
Really?
It looks like from
At
the,
least once.
at least maybe not a number of times, at least once,
Uh-huh.
sorry. But I'm just wondering if a way, maybe there is someone to, because it is a historic building, it's been around since 1870s. If there's a way to preserve the building and create housing out of it, somebody wants to take it off of your hands. It is tiny, but we need, and the world doesn't need more. I mean, right now, I'm not an expert on this, but we don't need more like 5-bedroom houses. We need more small. I know, like my parent in-laws were looking for a place to live, a house where they could rent that has 1 bedroom. They don't exist. So I'm just thinking, and I'm not saying there is this need, but if there is, maybe there is. I don't know if there's a procedure to do that here, but in other places, municipalities often have the kind of condemned homes list, and they're ultra cheap. And if someone wants to take it and move it, it's a way to preserve.
It's
the
debatable
building.
whether the structure that exists is going to allow any refurbishment like that. It might just be kind of a hollow structure rather than like a fundamentally sound building with insulation and all that.
Also, in a lot of cases, you can get it for $1 because the demolition is more expensive than they want to pay. And in a lot of cases, when we're talking asbestos and old lead and things like that, demolition is cheaper than renovating to make it into livable units.
Yeah, so,
True.
so what I'm wondering is, so this particular building is in the way of whatever playground project we have, but not the
Right.
G-set hut next to it.
The huts are pretty small.
Okay, yeah, I mean, oh yeah, it is pretty small.
Yeah, that,
Do you have a site plan at all, Christine? How the field
Um,
would be?
well, obviously the playground would be where the building is. And then there would be
Oh.
parking, we'd expand the parking, and then the ball field would remain where it is because we would refurbish the backstop that's there. We would have to put in some dugouts to protect the kids, obviously, from baseballs. And then there would just be additional parking. Because they can't really park on the street there. It's too busy of a road for people to park a lot on the street. Some would have to be on the street, but we couldn't have 2 teams worth parking on the street.
So there's interest in the minor league or the baseball league. They've said they would use it.
Correct. And I don't know, I can't really see you guys. You are very far away from the camera or what's on your screen. But if you just pull up on Google Maps, Margot, you can just kind of see the space. I don't know if everybody is familiar with the park up there. I mean, the rec commission is not, doesn't have any desire to get rid of this piece of property. I'm assuming the mayor would be in agreement, but I can't speak for her. I know that this was a place that when we thought we were losing Lunt Fields, we did all kinds of scenarios to try and figure out how we could fit 3 ball fields up here, which was, there's no way that could happen unless we cut down all the trees, which I didn't want to do. So this has been a park for ages. So we want to maintain it as a park, but just reactivate it for the community. As a matter of fact, one of the neighbors across the street during the site visit walked over and was really happy to hear that we would be bringing this park back to life. So that was nice to hear from an abutter.
Yeah, revitalizing the area, I think, is great. It's, I mean, I had it, this is the oldest, the only, it sounds like, wooden schoolhouse left in Greenfield. So I don't know, like, I personally don't feel wedded to it staying in this position, which is not its original space. Like, yes, let's revitalize a space that doesn't have a good use now. I just, in my mind, finding someone to take it and move it somewhere and do so, and maybe someone won't come forward, but putting it out there for someone to I mean, I know.
We'll revamp it and put the stagecoach in it.
Yeah, it's tall enough, right? I just think it's a shame, you know, to lose the historic building entirely when it has historic significance to the town. I mean, buildings this small, I mean, are not as difficult to move. I mean, this you can put, and it's a lot easier to move than some buildings would be, and there may be a use for it for housing. And what a cool, I mean, there's old schoolhouses. I have friends in Vermont who live in an old schoolhouses that they've moved and renovated and live in. And, you know, so these things certainly happen.
What about doing this? Could we have the city run an ad for 3 months or something, or 2 months or 1 month, whatever, saying this, you know, buy this, move it. You can have it and for $1, and then if not, then we'll tear it down.
I mean, I think potentially we could do that. I am sure that there are rules about all of that because of municipal procurement and sales, and you have to go through it. I know that if it is a city property, we do have to go through the RFP process, which is
Yeah.
what it is.
Right.
I mean, sorry, if I could speak, I think that was Tim Blagg who had mentioned that. I think that it is doable, as Aaron was saying, but there's multiple hoops that we would need to go through to figure out how to do that. And whether it's $1 or more money than that, that could go back to help the city or help us, refurbish this park. I think we certainly could look to that as an option, but it is approximately, I think, 960 square feet inside. It is not very large building. And it does have a bathroom and
That's
kitchen.
why-
ADU, which are now.
That's why I asked you about whether you had the money to do the rest of the work. If you've got it on your capital thing, you're not ready to do that right now. So a little bit of delay by advertising, if we have, wouldn't hurt you, right?
No, I wouldn't say it would hurt me. I mean, minor league would be delayed, like they were hoping to use it this spring. As I said, it's been since 2023. But I remind everybody that anything in a municipal state moves at a snail's pace. So if it's a few more months that we need to figure out if there's any interested individuals who would want to move it, take it apart. I think we could probably look into that. When you agree, Aaron?
I would agree with that. It will take time. I mean,
it has hazardous materials, so that in and of itself, in Massachusetts.
Right, yeah, and I know
It's
much
like
less about here
really
than
tricky.
Wisconsin.
Just throw it on the back of a truck and drive it down the street.
Yeah,
You gotta-
well, you practically
It's-
can,
Right, but I mean, you're still dealing with hazmat.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it has asbestos, it has lead, and other hazardous materials is how it was stated when the assessment was done by Aztec, I think it was. I have to tell you the name that you wanted to know.
and I think because of that assessment, because it is so, there's a lot of yuckiness in it, it would. My brain is done. I apologize for saying yuckiness in it, but that's where I am now.
Asbestos is.
Yeah.
It would deter people from.
It would
picking up.
deter it and it would make it cost prohibitive.
Well, and that's,
Like-
you probably, because of that, if I wanted to buy it for $1 and move it over to my property and drop it down, I probably would have to do the hazmat mitigation before I moved it at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
So
why I
Exactly.
have
Put the money
for the
into that.
demolition.
Someone's gotta do hazmat one way or the other.
Anyway,
Yeah.
tear it down.
Chrissy,
Right,
can you
but that
tell
is
us
part of the
what-
demolition. It's
but that's
probably a
part
lot
of the
cheaper than me
project,
doing it
correct?
and then moving it.
Correct. The bid was for handling the hazardous material and then demoing it and backfilling so that it is ready for a project to be built. And just clarifying, it was Atlas who did the technical specs to provide the hazardous material report. And so the bid, like I said, encompass all of it, like clearing the stuff so that it's safe to be in there and take it apart. And so whoever was to take ownership of the building would have to do that for their safety and the safety of the community, for moving that kind of stuff in the air, as we all know.
Well, how did the bids come in? Is it like a $5,000 hazmat removal or?
Well, it was a total project bid, Margot, and it was for 67,400. That's 67,400, and the lowest bid was Associated Building Wreckers.
Our friends.
And there were some that were super high. So that was the lowest.
I mean,
Nobody's gonna spend 67,000, you know,
that's the demo and the
And the hazmat.
And the hazmat.
Mitigation,
Yeah.
Correct, it was bid together.
so hazmat's a portion of that, right? I mean, we don't, it sounds like we don't know.
Yeah, I don't have, it was a combined bid. Yeah.
I'm guessing it's half of it, at
Yeah.
least,
More.
because knocking it down is a matter of bringing over machine and going, boom, and then.
putting it in trucks.
And you
Yeah.
can throw it anywhere.
What
Hazardous materials, you can't just throw in a landfill.
If,
Well, at
Right.
least you should.
if the city has to do the hazmat one way or the other, if it's a $70,000 project to do the hazmat and the demolition, if you do the hazmat and sell it for $1, you're still saving $30,000 by not having it demolished and having someone take it away, right? So the city's still
Not
ending up on.
necessarily, because
I don't know if you're gonna find a contractor who would just come in and do hazmat, you know, I don't know.
Okay.
yeah. And then if you're, a lot of times with these projects, when you divide it into two portions like that, it ends up being a lot more expensive. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like BOGO for
Mhm.
hazmat and demo.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, if it's less than the total, you're still saving money in the end and saving a building and creating housing.
I'm not convinced there's a use for it.
I don't,
I'm really not.
I
I'm
mean,
not
is that-
convinced there's a use for it for housing or for,
it's very
Historical
small,
purposes,
it's not, I don't even think it's in as good of a shape as the church was, honestly, like,
Oh, it's not, no,
not even close, it's not,
I haven't been inside, but.
it's not structurally sound in any way.
Could
And-
there be a middle ground by like installing a visual information plaque about what the building and what it was for and how it got to this point? Just like an educational opportunity that we could be using.
Like a
And there-
like a historic, like,
Signage or a plaque or something.
building, I mean, a sign, is that what you're, again, I can't tell who's talking, I'm sorry, so I can't really respond
it's
directly to Sarah, yeah, is that what you mean, like a historic,
Yeah,
informational sign?
like you've said before, a building is different than a plaque, but if this building is like kind of beyond repair, then touching on the fact that it was significant to begin with is not a non-starter.
if there is money for that.
Yeah.
That's
If.
honestly what it comes down to, and like, I'm being very frank about it, like, we know where things stand in regards to grant funding and federal budgets right now. We have to approach everything from that, like, from the city's perspective, every single thing has to be approached from that right now, like.
But there is 67,000 to do this.
The
project.
67,000 was already allocated, right, Christy? Do you already have that, or?
Actually, no, I'm gonna correct you, so I think it was 44, so we have been in contact with the mayor to figure out, the difference. Eric has been in touch.
Okay.
I can, I don't know if this will help or hinder, but I can show you pictures, from the inspection if I can do a screen share if you're interested, from December of 23. And obviously we can just assume that, you know, some of the interior stuff has certainly gotten worse with the water damage and whatnot in the 2 years since this, inspection. But if it's not necessary, that's fine. I just went to find it on my drive. Did I lose you guys?
No,
No.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to make sure you're
I
on
was
there.
trying to share the screen with you.
I don't doubt that it's in rough shape. I mean, and there's no such thing as a building that's beyond repair. There's buildings that there's not the will or the money to repair, which is
Right,
a
right.
reasonable,
Oh, good.
a reasonable
So-
assessment for buildings, but.
So again, so it looks like, can you all see this?
Yes, yes, thank you.
So this was our inspection with Building Commissioner Mark Snow in December of 2023. Obviously, we didn't have snow that year. So this is there's a chimney, the upper left picture. And this is the back side on the right. That's the door that we entered in at the time. Sliding down, this is the basement. And I'll tell you, I did not go to the basement because the basement stairs have caved in. I was I was afraid to go down that I wouldn't get back up. And then some of you, I know Margot and Tim have been in Greenfield a long time. Again, I'm not sure who else is on the committee, but Bruce Austin was a former building commissioner. I think maybe in the 90s, like he was here when I was hired in Greenfield. And these things were still in some of his reports to get fixed. So that's just kind of the history so that you're aware. Again, you can see some of the water damage inside on the basement level there. And the emergency management used to meet here, and ages ago the Civil Air Patrol met here. Oh yeah, here's the stairs you can see with the cones, with the ladder and stuff. That's what I wouldn't go down. And then this is on the main floor, which is the kitchen area, and the bathroom. And then this is more of the exterior. All of the bottom windows were broken. I have no idea where these propane tanks, I don't know if the public is just discarding stuff with out of sight, out of view, I don't know. But those are supposed to have been removed because we didn't know if there were any propane in them. And roof. The ramp it was the best. If there's anything to salvage, I would say it'd be the ramp. I'm not sure what year that was built, but that obviously just has some leaf and tree debris on it, but that had to been the most recent addition to this building. And that's all I have.
You don't have any interiors of the actual classroom?
It was just a big open, let me go, let me stop sharing. I took some additional photos, so let me see if I can find one real fast. This is what what I had just shared with you is what Mark had
Yeah.
put in his report. Let's see, nothing there.
If I'm understanding, like the city now, there's no process whereby the city like forecloses or repossesses properties that they then offer.
There
I think
is.
that doesn't exist.
No, that does
process.
exist.
Okay.
It does exist. It is a whole different thing that I don't know about. I mean, I know that it exists and it goes through several other departments. It goes through housing and planning and all sorts of different things. But because we already own this property, I think that I think the biggest one that we do is when we take like ownership of houses, there are people who we can sell the houses to refurbish them and bring them up to code to use as either, you know, rental housing or sell it. But I don't think this would qualify under those programs. I don't know enough about it to say that for sure. I've just read like the broad overview of what it is, but.
So I actually find myself thinking that it's unfortunate that the city got to this point and then they're saying, oh, this is historic, sorry, can we keep going?
Well, I don't think that's the case because I did speak to Eric.
And then, you know, from going forward, let's find out about these things earlier. And then we can do something.
Well, I think that this has been known for a while that it's a historic property or not, it's a historic building, like. Wasn't that addressed?
Yeah, it's not in the historic, whatever Eric calls it, I forget, historic, you guys know, historic registry?
It is registered, it's number.
Or the historic district, that's what Eric said.
Yeah, it's not in a historic district, but it has a card in the macro system.
Right.
It's GRE 248.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is where, you know, we need to adjust some of the processes that trigger our involvement earlier. Because I feel like you're already at third base, so to speak. and I just
Yeah, I mean,
hate to stand in the way of kids playing there and.
yeah,
you know,
I've been on, so I've been on the commission now, what, since 2023, I think it was when I joined, and this is the first, like, when I got the email about this project, that was the first I had ever heard of it,
Yeah.
you know, and that was just, what, last month?
So I think there's
there
two
is some,
issues. here.
There is
So
some breakdown in communication.
I think
Yeah.
that
Well-
having a better, an easier to access list of historic buildings that are in the city would be good, because if the inventory, the registry is hard to navigate sometimes, especially if you're not in it all the time. I don't know if there is a
I can sit with Eric,
list.
I can sit with Eric or Mark
That would be,
and go
that would be
through it.
fantastic.
Once you get used to it, it's really pretty easy.
But I think having just that list, like even in just an Excel spreadsheet would be great. That
Well,
way,
it's 600 properties
Okay.
in Massachusetts, I mean, in Greenfield, so
I'm totally insane and I volunteer.
you volunteer.
I am nuts, and I volunteer.
The town website has like a GIS mapping section
Yeah.
already, that an additional map that maps all this out could be.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't be that
It
hard.
exists. It's on the state. It's on Mass Historic.
I
Okay,
just think
I will
it's-
make an appointment,
yes.
but for this project,
Christy, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had another,
right,
I just wanted to follow up again. I'm sorry, I don't know who said that they had been on the commission since 2023. So how this started was it was probably August of 2023 when we got an email, I did, from the Greenfield Minor League Baseball. And then it went to multiple rec commission meetings and they asked for more information on what their intent was. And then you know that I work for the mayor, so at the time it was Roxanne. And so then I had multiple meetings with Roxanne, who then asked Mark to do his inspection. And then it just everything moves at a snail's pace, as I said. And then the mayor changed, so then I had to get our new mayor on board. Like everything was moving forward, except as Margot said, like the missing piece from your perspective was your committee. Although Eric and I had met multiple times about it. So I guess we do need to figure out a better way so that everyone involved gets to check off their boxes, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, in that vein, and I don't say this to cast stones, but whoever owns a building, if you have a building, whether you're a municipality, an individual, that building is in one condition at one time, you don't, for whatever reason, maintain that building because there's lots of other priorities over the course of decades and it sits vacant for a long time, the building deteriorates, and of course, in many, many years, the building becomes, quote unquote, beyond repair. That's demolition by neglect, which, and again, I understand there's lots of other priorities. I'm not casting stones, but this is a common, we haven't taken care of the building for a long time. Now we can't repair it. It costs too much, so we have to demolish it. And obviously this was 20 years ago, these investments should have been made, not, I mean, it would have been much cheaper then. We can't go back and fix that, but it's a difficult situation we have to demolish it because we didn't take care of it for decades and now it's too expensive to fix. And again, I know that's all in the past. We can't change that now.
I think also, if we had an inventory of city-owned buildings as well that were historic, it would give us
Right.
the ability to, if we had, again, if there was money, which, but if we had an inventory of city-owned buildings that were historic, it would at least give us the ability to put something on a prioritization list. Like, hey, this building is actually really important. We should look at ways to make sure that it's, staying in good condition. We don't have that right now. And yeah, I would agree that we should have, but we don't. So we're starting with that. Like that's,
So we just spent quite a few $1,000s doing.
yes, but where is that? Like, is that information housed?
What happened was it's a Mass Historic document, and it's on the Mass Historic website, which was the only way we could get it done. Because
Okay,
that's the only way we could get money to get it done,
right.
rather than doing it by ourselves so we got a contractor to do that. And that has just been finished within the last few months. And it is being posted up on the Mass Historic, and you can get access to that site. Anybody can get access to it. And when is it?
there is a paper copy. Eric has paper copy.
I know, but I'm talking about the.
It's gonna take a couple months.
It's gonna take a couple of months before that is available to the general public,
Right.
but once it is, you'll get a link to it, and then you can look it up, anything else.
And those-
Anybody in the city can look it
Well,
up.
I'm talking city-owned properties,
Right.
not all properties.
Well,
So,
that's up to you
okay.
guys,
Well, that's
I'd
right.
like to move that Sarah and I meet with Eric and Mark,
okay?
and we have a little powwow
Yep,
at their convenience. And we do a cross-ref. We take the 600 properties that we know are considered historic and the town properties, and I can think of a couple right off that are gonna be under, consideration for other uses. So anyway, so we will do that, okay?
And
Yeah,
if I can
everybody-
just, oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and
Everybody
I'll
just-
be glad to be involved with that, Margot, if it'll be helpful, because I know of at least one other building in the rec commission's mind that we think may be historic, that again is in worse repair than this, and the city just doesn't have money, and we can't determine what use it would be for either, so we have to think about safety.
Yeah.
Send me a link of which one you're.
I'm afraid to.
No, but I think something to keep in mind going forward, like you were saying, that it'd be nice to hear about these things earlier. A lot of times it's not gonna come up until somebody wants to demolish it.
true enough.
Even if we had a list of every property and kept on top of it, who's got the money to run around and say, okay, that one needs a paint job and that one needs windows and.
But there are buildings that I know of that could be decommissioned and turned into housing. And that's the cry right now, so, and I've been calling it one of them a long time, but anyway.
I know the rec commission thought really long and hard about it's not really our building. It was the fire department used it, but they left and then nobody else was using it, but it's on our park. So it kind of fell on our lap to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? We're not going to teach school in there. It needs a lot of work and we don't have any sort of capital within the city that we can invest in this. But, and if we could find more grants for historic stuff, I'd be glad to help you guys support that.
Do we have a motion? One way or another?
Yeah, I move we approve the demolition.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion?
Have they actually filed a demolition permit?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what
we actually
triggered
have-
this whole thing.
Okay, yeah, no, I wasn't sure. I thought it was just like a heads
But
up.
actually,
Okay, yeah,
no, your question is a good one.
I didn't, because I didn't actually see the demolition permit. I think it was just,
No, an application,
oh, sorry, Christie.
I, again, Eric handled the bid, so I can't speak for him, but I do not think we have because the bids
No.
just came in last week and we haven't, we've determined what the lowest bid is, but we haven't awarded anything yet.
Take no action then.
yes, we can,
Why should we?
because,
We don't have a demolition permit to rule on, so.
You can vote to allow demolition when the permit is issued. You
or
can do
when the
it
application
when
is
the
submitted.
application is.
You can direct Mark.
All right.
So I still don't see the harm in this building. It's not gonna get demonstrably worse in 3 months if there's an opportunity
But
to see if
price,
somebody.
but prices could go up pretty dramatically for demolition.
They already have.
And they already
44 to
have,
70,
And
67.
with some of the federal issues that we are facing right now in regards to tariffs, it's going to start going up pretty quick. I think that is worth considering. We are in an incredibly precarious fiscal place as a city. I cannot stress that enough.
Kinda like the
Okay,
condition
well,
that they
the other
typically
thing
find
is,
for
if you
tariffs.
can't find the money between the 44 and the 67. And the contract doesn't go ahead. Couldn't we do what Jeremy suggested?
Potentially, but that goes through the whole RFP process. Like, if we were going to put it up for bid like that, it would take up to a year, I think. Honestly, because of how long it takes.
Massachusetts.
It takes a long time to put those things out there, to go through the whole process. And
You don't have staff to do it.
We don't right now. We had a whole entire turnover of our financial department in the past 6 months, and our new finance department is fantastic, but we're also in the middle of municipal budget season. Our budget's due in 6 weeks. And I hear what you're saying. I really do. I think I've demonstrated like I'm on, you know, but I have to come at it from the city's perspective saying, yikes, like.
And also from a funding, if we advertise it and I wanted to buy it tomorrow, it's almost absurd to think I could say, I'm gonna buy it tomorrow, and I've got the money right now, I've got the equipment right now, and I'll start work next week. It'll be, no, I'll start work in like 2 years.
Yeah, it's,
And then you have no
ball field.
no leverage.
Right, and then you have no ball field for all that time, and
Happened.
Could you reread your, or state your?
Restate my motion. My motion is that we approve.
Point of order, are we having a public hearing on this? If a demolition delay or demolition permit hasn't been applied for?
No, it means in the future.
Stephanie, the only time that a demolition hearing would go in is if the demolition delay were enacted, which so they don't have to enact a demo delay if they don't want to. Even if it is a historic property, they vote to enact the demolition delay. And then after that, there is a public hearing.
No,
If,
actually, that's not
well,
true. Yeah,
We,
we have.
that process is complicated. It's one of the other.
Right.
It is
items.
complicated.
I know, that's the next
No,
item. I believe when the permit is, I mean, the application is received, then we have a public hearing and then we vote. That's what happened with Colebrook.
no, you voted to put the delay in and then had the public, or you voted to. Wait, no,
the
you
vote
voted
to have
to,
the delay triggered within a 14-day period, we had to have another meeting.
yeah.
This would have been
Okay,
the
you're
public
right.
hearing.
Yeah, so you
right,
voted to do the delay and then you had to have a public hearing about it.
Yeah.
So this, you don't have to have a public hearing if you don't put the delay in.
Yeah, we
The
don't. do
delay didn't
public
go into
hearings for
effect
every
until
development.
after the public hearing.
Right, but that was to,
We designate,
Determine.
I think that it's
we call,
necessary.
this is part of
Yeah.
the problem with the current ordinance.
yes.
Is that this,
But that was to determine if it was going to be enacted. It was a vote to have the hearing to enact the delay. This is kind of how it,
Right.
All right, so you wanted to know what my motion was. Well,
Yes.
my motion was made with, I thought that there was a permit, a permit had been applied for. So I'll have to rephrase it. I would move that once we receive a demolition permit request, that we approve it for this building.
Okay.
That's the same thing, yeah. The second minute?
Second.
Okay, let's vote. All those in favor?
Can I abstain? I have
Yes.
no strong opinion
Of
either
course you
way at this
can.
point.
And those opposed?
3 yeas,
3 nays.
1 abstention, 1 nay.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I'm sorry, I didn't say thank you for your comment, but thank you.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much,
Okay, yeah,
Christie.
thanks, Christine. All right, and I think that our meeting with Eric and Mark will be important.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
I think
So that we get things
Yeah,
in the order that we should get.
right.
Get that on, like he said, get it on the map, so it's.
I was gonna say, Jeremy, thank you for fighting tooth and nail. Because what you're saying is important.
Oh, of course.
I
yeah.
agree. I think it is important, and I'm glad that you. I think it is a very important perspective to hear, and I wish we had money to do all the things that I want to do.
Okay.
I just chimed in because I have personal history with the parcel growing up in this area. So I had questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie.
So, I hope we can, the rest of the
Well, I don't-
agenda quickly here.
CRT
So
gonna
let's
show.
meet Terry, the new interested party in being a commissioner.
Well, I mean, he's been doing a darn good job, so.
You can talk to my wife. I'm not real great at keeping my mouth shut.
Ah! So I take it that you are still interested
Yes,
and
yeah,
You
I'm an
wanna just-
archaeologist. I'm a
you've told me a
historian.
little bit of your background, but 1 minute,
Yeah, I'm just real quick. I'm an archaeologist, historian by trade. I've been out of the field for a number of years, raising my boy. Didn't want to. The one problem with archaeology is it happens out there. And I didn't want to be out there when my little kid was growing up here. So I've been out of that field for a while. I'm still very active historically. I was on the board at the Historical Society for a while. I'm no longer on the board. I'm still very active over there with Van. Like Van, I learned I can get a lot more done if I'm not on the board and just go there and get stuff done. And my son is now volunteering with us over there, and we're putting him to work on weekends now. And, we moved to Greenfield almost 20 years ago now. Bought our house about 12, 13 years ago.
okay, so the next thing is you write a letter of interest to the mayor.
Yep. I will talk to Ginny. I know Ginny. She used to be the counselor from our ward.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Precinct.
Precinct, whatever we-
You can write to mayor@greenfield-ma.com
So we're.
Terry.
and just send a letter of interest,
That's okay.
and take care of it from there. All of the infos on the front page of the mayor's page on the city website.
Okay,
Yeah, can't imagine it's hard to track down our
Shouldn't be.
email address.
and the last item is review of demolition delay ordinance. Can we set up a couple of people to look it over and maybe?
That guy right there?
suggestions?
You guys are the experts on it.
So it is
I
ordinance
know it
season.
exists, but I'm not.
Oh, right now the city is going through ordinance review.
Mhm.
So it is a great time to do that because it all has to,
Is there a
that's
deadline?
another whole process
Yeah.
of things that
Oh, I
have to
know,
do.
yeah.
Is there a deadline?
I don't know. Oh,
I don't think it's a super quick process to
No.
draft a new.
it is not a super
Ordinance.
quick process. It has to go through city council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all of the people are doing it right now. That is happening. All of our department heads are supposed to be doing it, so you should be able to work in coordination with Eric.
Yeah.
So
look at some of the eastern communities versions.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we, or like, would we be able to draft an ordinance and then it goes to, is there like the city attorney then like make sure the language, because like I know that, but I don't know how to. Right.
So I think generally you're gonna,
Engine 3, respond to vehicle accident at 285 Federal Street.
Okay, it's not me.
yeah, it's not me either. Oh, no, actually, that might be me because they're on their way to town. Anyway, hope not.
Virtual particles exist mathematically.
So you would draft, you would go through what you wanted to see changed. I mean, basically start with some notes. What do you want to see changed? Are there other ordinances that you can find from other communities in the state?
Yeah.
That you prefer the way it is written? Have good reasoning for why you want these things changed too, because you're gonna have to sell it.
Well, it was a little bit tricky to figure out what exactly the process was. So
Right,
there's the cleaning up
Right.
and then there's the beefing up.
Right.
Does Mass Historical have a suggested version?
We adopted the suggested version.
Back when?
Yeah.
2016, 2007, it's
2008.
quite old.
Yeah.
Right, that webinar, there's a lot of research, and that webinar has all kinds of resources about. I mean, I have them all written down, but not on the top of my head. I mean, I could, based on different communities around the state, because there's not a suggestion, but there's 3 or 4.
Yeah, because I don't think.
There's
Sarah's just
examples
gonna
from
show
all
up
over the
today.
state. that we can pull
And it
from.
would be really important to make sure that you're like aligning with stuff in the state, because some other ordinance you can draw from,
Right.
you know, around the country, but historic really varies. So it's really so state driven.
Yeah.
So I
Here's a
think,
Question.
Okay,
yes,
so-
I'm sorry, you did have.
That's okay. Would discussing it violate open meeting laws? So like if we discussing it in like with a forum size group of people, like, because we want to make sure it's what we want to present, right? But it's
Yeah, yeah.
So
different if we have like groups of 2 and we take notes and if you like.
Can we just call it a committee?
I'll try to adjourn
Be a
us in the next minute.
I don't know.
I think that was the agenda item, was establish a subcommittee or
Right.
something like
Which
that.
would then have to have its own like subcommittee chair and then like have its own recordings and all that and have its own.
Well, we're not
calendar?
that big. I mean, I think it's 2 people. to
My
do it.
my honest suggestion would be have a couple people draft things
Mhm.
and bring ideas to the full committee, because you are a small committee. And it's not urgent. You don't have to have it done, you know.
Jeremy, want to work with me on this?
I would love to work with
But
someone on it.
draft,
And you would be a
Yay,
wonderful person
Sarah.
to work with.
Sarah
draft
seems to
some things.
Have some time.
No, I just have no impulse control and a desire to be useful.
No, you should try Adderall for that, but, that's what I do. But that's what I would suggest, that you bring forward ideas and form it over the next several months of meetings. Because I think all of you have different good perspectives and ideas that need to be heard. And this is probably the best way to really to go about it. It's not like you're a 30-person committee, you're
Right.
5 people.
Okay, Sarah and Jeremy,
Maybe
you're
six-
assigned.
Maybe
And the-
6, 7 now, actually.
Also, once you've got a list of all the historic properties, you just say you want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they don't already have someone over at City Hall who can pack that all into a map, I can.
Oh,
Well,
cool.
I have
no,
those skills.
it is in a map. And Eric just needs to add the overlay to the GIS that he has. And he should
We
be
just
able
need
do
to
it.
know what city-owned
I
property.
have to lead myself. I'll
Yes.
entertain a motion to
All right,
adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. This is a
Second.
very long, good, long meeting.
I declare us adjourned.
All right.
Thank you very much.